Hey, welcome to the exchange. Let's talk this Ukraine-Russian war day 5, where things are at right now. But more importantly, let's talk about the Russian economy. Russian ruble is on the verge of collapse, and the entire economy of Russia might collapse, leading to a revolution. But let's dive into it real fast. So here's a current layout as of Sunday night U.S. time, or basically early morning, Monday morning Ukraine time. So really, the northern front is still stalled around Kiev. We have Kharkiv over in the northeast right here. It's stalling right there. There's a push up in here in the northeast, which potentially is heading towards Kiev, but it's been very slow, very methodical. Really in the Donbass region, not much has happened there. It's pretty stabilized around there. We've seen the biggest, largest, I guess, gain of territory push out of the Crimean Peninsula. They're doing basically a land run, end run, basically right now from the Crimean Peninsula to the Donbass region over in the east right here. And these forces are actually even 10, 20 miles apart. They're very, very close to each other. So they actually might link up potentially on Monday and actually unify the Crimean Peninsula with the Donbass region. Kherson around here and Odessa over in the southwest, they're holding on strong. I mean, there's definitely probing attacks, but we'll see what happens with that. The big news Sunday night U.S. time is Belarus is entering the war. They're having roughly about 15, 20,000 soldiers they might deploy potentially into Ukraine. There's rumors of a potential airborne operation. They'll drop paratroopers basically around Kiev or somewhere in that vicinity of there. We'll see what happens with that, but I mean, it's definitely a very dynamic situation, and we'll see what happens. But I mean, President Zelensky's done a fantastic job. I mean, talk about like world great leaders from like Leonidas, Winston Churchill, etc. And he is up there, bar none. He's absolutely crushing it. And, Godspeed for the Ukrainians. And they're holding on strong, and even day 5 versus the entire or most of the Russian army. So it's been incredible. Now, economic stories, we've seen the sanctions come on board over the weekend. We saw swift sanctions from the Europe, and also from the U.S. as well too. So this chart right here shows the Russian ruble versus USD. So basically, all this chart's saying for every US dollar you have, you can exchange it right now for 113.95 Russian rubles. And this is an active, dynamic, floating chart. So this will change over time. But you can see here. Let's look at the past week. I mean, really in the past, 24 hours, basically ever since Saturday night, you've seen this massive uptick right here. And this is really showing you the danger the Russian ruble is in as a currency. And this is a massive devaluation. So this is almost from 82, $83 all up to 113. We're talking almost there at 40% roughly inflation, or basically devaluation of the currency. So you think about the U.S., we're thinking like 7-8% year over year inflation is bad, and really bad for the economy. This is 40% over a weekend. I mean, absolutely just disastrous. And this is going to change too as the European markets open in the early morning hours. This is going to get worse and worse and worse as everyone has a Russian-backed or ruble-backed investments. They're going to start pulling cash out. There's going to be like capital flight runs, and Putin knows this too. This is not like a secret. This is something the Russian central bank actually trying to actively prevent, but I don't know how they're going to. I think the ruble right now is in a very dangerous ground, especially politically with sanctions and everything else too. I don't know how they can get money out of the country fast enough in order to maintain the active flows of buyers and sellers. But right now, everyone's a seller right now. Everyone's out of the ruble. Now, what does that mean for the actual average Russian citizen? I mean, obviously, you're seeing the ruble, basic devaluation, almost 40% plus Sunday night U.S. time. But really what it means is, hey, they're seeing potential bank failures, potential capital issues, liquidity issues. So your average Russian person is going right now and like, hey, I need my cash right now, and I need to spend the cash right now because by Tuesday, Wednesday, my cash could be, 50% less or 100% less. I mean, based on the valuation multiples. So, I mean, it's just an absolute nightmare. So, what you're seeing in this video, this is from Reddit. Pull up my Reddit real fast. This is basically is massive lines forming at ATMs. And this is an ATM. I mean, they don't hold that much cash, but if the banks aren't open, this is your source of basically if you want cash in hand, like hard physical currency, this is what you got to go to. And I mean, obviously, the ATMs are out of cash. And the thing is, I mean, this is the beginning of a bank run. This is what it looks like. This is what happens. And as the panic grows, the panic spreads, and both on the front lines in Ukraine and also back home, and also in Moscow and everywhere else. I mean, this is going to get worse and worse and worse. And once the panic starts, it's very, very hard to stop. So Russia's going to have some tough problems facing this. So we'll look at this whole week of how to actually stabilize the currency. And by stabilize, I mean basically reassure the confidence and reassure the backing of the currency as a stable currency, as a stable form of value or store of value. Okay, so what's the end game here? And that's really the big question we have right now. So obviously in the Ukraine front, I mean, it's going disastrous for the Russians. They are making progress, but it's very slow. They're having heavy losses. Really on the home front, though, too, it's almost worse in a way because it affects the entire population. It's something they can't hide. Like you're going to feel, or they're going to feel the ruble actually devaluing based on import prices or potentially on cost of goods overall. So Russia has a few options they can do potentially to save the Russian ruble, Russian economy overall. What they have to do really is restore confidence, and they could either do capital injections potentially to some of the failing corporations or state-backed assets. Again, but that's, again, we talk about price wage spirals. So the idea there, if we do capital injections in the corporations, they pay their workers more, workers demand more salaries. Also, you have runaway inflation there. We had those figures in the U.S., and I mean, we haven't quite had those. It hasn't been seen yet in the U.S. But in Russia, I mean, this might be a true price wage like hyperinflation spiral, and it's going to be very hard to stop. Another thing they can do, I mean, they could potentially back the currency with either fixed assets like silver, gold, etc. But the size of the economy, they may not have the gold or the reserves in house potentially, even a fractional percentage of those potentially to back it of the currency. But it's going to be a tough situation. I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, this is one of those things we talk about a revolutionary kind of zest going on. I mean, between the actual army in the east having problems and back home you're having financial issues. I mean, this might be the downfall of Putin and the downfall of kind of the Russian order we have right here. Even Belarus too, the Belarusian order. One funny side note, I mean, it's actually not that funny, but it's pretty serious. But if you talk about the crypto, kind of the idea of like, hey, as a store of value, this is one of those cases where, I mean, it absolutely does make sense. You might see a large swath of the Russian population go into Bitcoin, go into Ethereum, which is way more stable overall as an asset class than the Russian ruble or Russian-backed assets. So this is one of those cases you might see a large inflows over the next 3-4 days potentially from Russian citizens or Russian oligarchs or corporations into Bitcoin, into Ethereum, just as a store of value overall. So yeah, definitely let me know your thoughts. If you like the video, hit the like button down below, subscribe down below if you like the overall channel, and have a good week and best of luck.